Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU Studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAU TV @aau.org, or ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
Hello Africa, this is another episode of the CGC show on AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. We are coming to you live from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities here in Accra, Ghana, and I am your host, Aja Umi. Today we will be discussing a very interesting topic, which is career counseling as a career. I know you are wondering, what are we going to talk about and why are we talking about that? Because a lot of people don't really take that particular career. I have my guest with me, but I'll introduce her after the break. Do follow us on our social media platforms at AAU_TV on Twitter, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and at AAU TV on Instagram. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU Studios via the following email addresses: info@aau.org, AAU TV @aau.org, or ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the CGC show on AAU TV, and today I have my guest in the person of Miss Nalamle Namte. Miss Nalamle Namte, who is here to talk about career counseling as a career. She's actually a career strategist, and so you should be looking forward to the season 2 of the CGC show. Welcome, Miss Na.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show for me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's an honor.
Thank you. I've mentioned your name, but let my viewers know more about you. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so you decided to localize my name.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's totally fine. But you're right. My name is Nalamle Lamte.
Okay.
Yes, and I am a career strategist, like you rightly said.
Okay.
I basically help people, normally the youth who are just trying to get to a certain career path, and I give them tips on how to make sure that they are actually making the right decision. So basically, I help with the roadmap. So if you want to get to a certain point, I help with the right strategies to get to that point. So that's what I do. And
what actually influenced you to do it?
Because
there are lots of career opportunities around. Why did you choose to do career counseling?
That's a really good question, actually. Growing up, I never even knew what it meant to be a counselor.
Of course.
A career counselor. I had no idea. I always wanted to be a consultant, a financial consultant. And growing up, I realized I was more passionate about career in general. I was more passionate about my career, and then people around me, I was always trying to find out, so what's the plan? What do you want to do, and how do you want to get there? I was always, trying to give advice whenever people were going to apply for jobs. I was always there to help them, prepare their CVs and then help them prep for interviews. And I was just really enthused about those things. And as time went on, I worked with a career coach for a while, and I realized this is something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I do it effortlessly. I was really enjoying it, so I was like, this is actually something I could take on full time. So I decided to go ahead with it.
So you didn't take any course or any program to groom yourself, get more knowledge on the career?
No, I won't say I, had a formal education.
Okay.
Yes, I did actuarial science in my undergrad, and I also did CFA, that's a chartered financial analyst.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And then now I'm doing my master's in development finance. So that has nothing to do with career. Exactly. But it's just because I am really passionate about it. And so I ended up spending so much time attending webinars, trainings online, watching videos, listening to podcasts. It was just something I was crazy about. And so whenever I saw any course that was, for sale, I'll just get my credit card and immediately buy it, and then, make sure I consume everything. So it's just something I would say started as a passion, and here we are today.
So how did you polish your skill? Yes, you had a passion, but definitely you need some skills to equip you.
Exactly, absolutely. And that's where I would say, the trainings, because then you might just be passionate about something, but you need to refine it. And I would say that certain things came to me naturally, but then you need to refine that talent, So then that's where the trainings came in. Reading, I was always reading anything career. I would just gladly go for it and then read it. I was following career coaches on social media and just, really listening to them. I was just passionate about it, and so I made the effort to make myself better and become more knowledgeable in that, field. And so I'd say I'm still learning. Every time I'm listening to podcasts, watching videos, learning new things all the time, keeping abreast with what's happening, right now. And so, that's how it is.
I just wish the people of Africa, especially the youth, will also have the same passion that you said drove you to delve into that career path. Because in our part of the world, in Africa, actually, a lot of people don't really regard that career. They don't even think of it. How do you see the experience so far?
That's so true. I don't think I've really met people who say they are either career counselors or no. I don't see that here in Ghana.
Sorry, but even in our academic structure, there are lots of programs in our universities, in our higher education institutions, but you will never see any program like BA in career counseling. We have accounting, we have marketing, we have communication, but I have never seen any course on career counseling? Is it that they are not getting the recognition, or they are not putting themselves out there to be recognized?
I would say that it's just an area that has not been explored.
Oh, okay.
So many people don't really know about it, and so nobody has really made the effort to even try to delve into that part. And I would also say that the closest thing to career related stuff is maybe HR.
Yeah.
And even with that, when people graduate from HR, they just want to become HR managers and all that. But there are people too, like us, who just want to go into developing people for that job they've been longing for, or that career path and all that. And for me, that's how it has been. That's what was driving me, just being able to help people and just giving them the right tips, giving them the right roadmap to getting there and helping them know that, oh, you can actually do this, go for it. There are so many people who want to be so many things and have no idea of how to even get there. They may have the resources, but they have no idea of how to get there. And that's where I come in, where I help you step by step. Okay, so we can do this. We can even draw up like a yearly plan. What I do is quite involving. It's a whole package. Aside the CVs and the resumes and the interview preps, I can help to take you step by step. Okay, so this is what we'll do this year. Then next year we'll do this. Then we'll do this, and that's just like a roadmap to your dream career.
I would like to know how many people have consulted you.
Oh, well, I would say I've not been a career strategist for long, but I've been doing this for a long time.
Wow.
So I would say over 50 people so far, and that has been a really short time. Over 50 people, having to like talk to them, just giving advice that, oh, I think you should do this instead of doing this. And mind you, it's just strictly, suggestions. In the long run, you are in charge of your career. And so I can't come and say, you must do this necessarily. I'm just advising. In the end, you would, have to make that final decision. And yeah, it's been a wonderful experience.
So there hasn't been any occasion where you chose a career path for somebody that consulted you?
No. I never choose a career path for anybody.
How?
I just help you, decide on what you want to do. So we explore your talents, your passion, your strengths, even your weaknesses. We explore some of the things, the peculiar things about you. And we also explore some of the way of life you want to live. All those things come to play when it comes to your career. Some people are not the 9-to-5 kind of people. Some people just want a flexible job. They want to be free. So all these things will come to play when we are finally deciding. And then I usually call that career clarity, because then that's when it becomes clear to you that, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, which means I can actually go ahead with this career path, you see. So I don't just come and say, from the look of things, you can be a doctor. That's not how it works, because like I said, everybody is the CEO of their career. So then in the end, you should make the decision. You should be happy with what you have chosen. But I can just guide you. I can just give advice. I can just open your eyes to certain things about it. But in the end, you make the decision.
And there hasn't been any instance where maybe somebody you've observed the person's skill, the way the person goes about his or her things, but the person wants to be a doctor, but you look at how the person does his or her things, and then you realize, no, you can't be a doctor. Has there been any instance like
Oh,
that, and
yes.
how did you manage it?
There have been instances like that where this is what the person wants to be, and when you go deeper into it, you realize that's because the person has just seen this profession and it's beautiful, and that's where it ends. Like, it's just because it's prestigious. I just want to wear that white lab coat. That's all.
Especially nursing. I don't know, but I do have a problem with the way a lot of young people in Africa are going into nursing, and most of them go with the mindset that, oh, nursing outside Africa is very, very well respected, so they will just get the knowledge and then travel out. But I just don't understand why a lot of people are going into nursing, because they are leaving other professions. There are other careers that they can actually take, but because of the notion that when you go outside you get more money, they rather focus on, even when the person knows that I can't do it, the person tries and does everything possible to go into nursing.
Yeah, you're so right, because I know there are some nurses who cannot even stand the sight of blood.
Exactly.
So I'm like, why do you want to be?
And
these are things that that need to be spoken about, because if this is your career path, if this is what you are going to be known for, you might as well be happy about it. You might as well wake up every morning and be excited that, oh, I'm going to my, you go
to the hospital ward, and almost every time a nurse is just mad because he or she is frustrated.
So many times I didn't even want to start talking about
I
times.
really wish there were a lot of career counselors to actually stop these things, because if they are able to create the awareness, let people know of the damages they may cause on the field when they do not really have a passion for something, but then they just choose to do it because for the money. I would be really, really appreciative. I think you guys should create more awareness.
Yes.
I don't know whether it is you have decided to just be in the corner, or you the media or the society is not really recognizing you or something.
Well, I think I can't really tell for Ghana here, because then outside Ghana or outside Africa, because even in Africa it's not really seen. But outside Africa it's a big deal. It's a big deal. In all universities, there are counseling centers that are being patronized. Like, people are actually going there, people are making the most out of it. Universities here in Ghana or other African countries, I'm sure they do have, those counseling centers, but
yes, I remember I went to, I don't know if I should mention any, but I went to one institution, a very prominent one, and I did an interview. I asked some of the students whether they know they have a career counseling center in the school, and most of them told me they don't see the need. So I don't know whether you guys, you get the job, you're a career counselor, you get to work in the school, you get paid, but you are not really doing your job on the field. Is it because the students are not coming to you, or because you just don't know what exactly to do to create the awareness that they actually need you people?
I believe the awareness has not really been created, because since I started with my business, that's Elevate with NLL, now more than ever, people have gotten to me and are saying things like, I really need to see more of this. Like, we don't see these kind of things often. We really need these things, because sometimes you talk to people and you realize that after you finish talking to them, they are so relieved, because these are things they need to hear, and so many times it has become like a norm. Everybody is just doing a certain profession because this is what they've seen. So they have to go, ahead with it. And even with me, I've experienced that, this thing in Ghana where it's like parents want to decide for you. You have to be a lawyer, I want you to do this, and this is how it's going to be, and all that. And that's because most of the time it's like we don't even know what we want. So it's like we're just waiting for our parents to decide for us and say, I want you to do this. It's very profitable. That's another reason why people choose such, certain professions. That, oh, it's profitable. I'll get a lot of money when I do this. But then I believe that every profession is profitable depending on who is doing it.
Exactly. Once
you're passionate about something, there's this excellent touch you add to it, and that's what people don't realize. Somebody can be doing one thing that is known to be very profitable, but will really be terrible at it and will not get anything at all. Meanwhile, you go and do something else that people don't think is profitable, and you'll be excellent at it. You get what I'm trying to say. So these things are very dicey. These things are things that we need to talk about more.
Definitely.
And that's why, I do what I do. I'm always trying to educate people. I like teaching. I like talking. So so that's why I'm doing it. I've taken it upon myself. I'm like, I'm going to do this.
That's a great thing to do. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned.
4 years ago, like most young people, I was clueless as to what I wanted to do and which institution would help me realize a great career. What better place to pursue this dream than Blue Crest College? With state-of-the-art lecture halls and experienced lecturers, as well as equipped computer labs, Blue Crest is indeed the right starting point. With certificate, diploma and degree programs in information technology, business administration, journalism, oil and gas, Blue Crest is the one-stop institute for everyone who is looking to have a great career. Enroll now. Visit www.bluecrest.edu.gh or call any of the numbers on the screen. Blue Crest College. Education for life.
Welcome back. This is still the CGC show on AAU TV, and we are talking career guidance as a career path. Nan Lamni Lamti has already delved into her experience so far, some of the challenges she's faced, but we'll ask her more of the challenges the profession or the career is actually facing. But before that, now, can you share with me your biggest moment? What contract did you get that you said, okay, wow, I have really reached? If it is something that I can say, share your biggest moment with us.
For me, my biggest moments are usually when I hear that a client has gotten a particular job.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I don't know, it's like I have gotten the job. And so I would say those are one of, and then also I prep people for grad school as well, the interviews, the scholarships, preparing for the scholarships and all that. And so when I hear that you've gotten the school or you've gotten the scholarship, I'm on cloud nine, So I would say these are, some of my biggest moments. There was this particular client who was so nervous about an interview, and then we had the mock interview. This client was really scared. just imagine, so scared. We managed to have it. I helped, the person with the tips and all that, and then she went ahead and then got the job. You can imagine the excitement. The excitement. I also helped someone with a resume, and before that she was always getting a reject email. I'm sorry, you cannot, we are not selecting you for this job and all that. And then after we prepared her resume and then she sent to the first job she applied for, she was called for the next stage, and then she called me and she was like, nah, for the first time, they didn't say rejected. For the first time, I was so happy and all that. And it was just, really exciting and fulfilling, for me.
I'm sure there's been down moments too.
Yeah, of course. So this is something we've already spoken about the fact that this whole job is not something that is taken seriously in Ghana, and people don't even see it as a job. And we are in a country or a continent where so many people think, why should I pay for someone to prepare, a resume for me?
Yeah, and I heard there's a difference between resume and CV. We'll talk about that in the season 2.
Yeah, for sure. So they should watch out.
They should watch out.
Yeah, so some people are just like, why should I, spend money to get somebody to help me get a job? Why should I spend money for someone to help me prepare for an interview? Why should I spend money to speak to someone who will give me strategies for my career? So, there are people who are not willing to. I mean, if I had my way, I would have done this.
I don't know if it's something with Africa, but I think we have a hard time paying for knowledge.
Because they don't see it. But then it's value I'm giving you. It's my time I'm spending.
Exactly.
And all of the experiences. So when you are paying me, you're not paying me for, the 10 minutes advice I've given you or the 1 hour advice I've given you. You are paying for the knowledge, the value I'm bringing on board, and then the results in the end.
Yeah.
Because then once you implement all these things, if I choose to, put copyright on my knowledge and everything, you can imagine. So then all of that, you need to just realize that you are paying for value. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's very important. So on various occasions, people haven't been so forthcoming. And to be honest, I won't force you. I won't force you because I know the value I'm bringing on board.
Definitely.
I know, what I have to offer, and so I won't try to beg you. I'll just refer you to my free content. I have free content you can, check out, and so
there's this saying that value doesn't beg.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yes,
because if you know what you are coming to get, definitely you would be willing to pay more to get more. What has been no, let me put it this way. There's this notion or this mindset that most career counselors are psychologists. How is psychology related to career counseling? How did it come together?
This is an interesting one. This is the first time I'm also hearing this.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, really.
People say it a lot.
Oh, wow. But I can understand it when people say that, because then we try to go deeper, obviously when you're dealing with people, you're relating with their minds. And let me give an example. So someone wants to be a doctor. I need to find out why you want to be a doctor. I need to find out exactly why. And so we can be interacting.
Okay.
And then as we are doing that, I'm taking note of certain things.
You're making your own analysis.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to understand that. Oh, so it's because you think the lab coat is beautiful. Oh, it's because your mom was a doctor or your dad was a doctor, or all of that. And so I won't say we are psychologists, but we deal with the mind as well. And it's just the career part. I believe psychologists deal with mental health and all that, but we just make sure that you're happy in your career. We are just giving you the right path, directing you and all that. So
what is your go-to mantra? Like something you always tell your clients? And how do you even get clients in the first place? I've not asked you that.
That's a good question.
How do you get clients?
I would say mainly referrals. A lot of people
Then
I don't
you're
even
doing
know.
a good job.
Yeah, well, I've never got a negative review so far.
Wow.
Yes, never. Therefore, by God's grace, I have never gotten. So it means I'm most likely doing something right. Yes. So most of the time it's referrals. Different people get to me and they're like, "Am I speaking to now? Okay, my friend told me about you, and I want you to help me with this." All right. So most of the time it's referrals. referrals. Yeah, so that's, you know, but then one thing I always tell my clients is you are the CEO of your career. That's what I always tell them. And another thing I tell them is that hope is not a strategy. You can't sit there and then say, I hope I become somebody.
Definitely.
I hope. That's not a strategy. That's not a plan.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe so much in having a plan. I believe so much in knowing exactly what you want and then knowing how to get there.
Yeah.
Because, yes, we can pray. And it's very important for us to pray. But then you need to have a plan. You know, you need to know what you're going to do. You need to decide that, okay, this is how I want to get there. And that's what I usually tell my clients.
That's very impressive. Yeah. What would be your final words to somebody who would want to be a career counselor or a strategist?
Okay, so I would first of all say that you need to be really passionate about it. You need to really understand what you're doing and be ready to serve people, to be there for people. Because even as some clients may come to you and they don't even know what they want. And so, you know, you need to be able to relate with people well. You need to be able to make people feel at home. And like I said at the beginning, that it was the passion that was driving me to, you know, refine, you know, the knowledge and everything. And so once you're passionate about something, it's going to drive you to do a lot of things. And it will, in the end, cause you to be excellent at it. So it needs to be something that you are willing to go all out for. It needs to be something that you are willing to help others in. And yeah, that's basically
it. Was so much great to have you on the show. I'm very, very grateful for making time.
Thank you
I really
for inviting
me. And I hope that you make time all the time whenever we need you to come and give us those tips that you've been giving to your clients. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the session. We spoke mostly about passion. Let your passion drive you to do something. Don't just hope, work for it. Have a plan, and you will definitely get there. Thank you so much for tuning in. This show is proudly brought to you by the Association of African Universities. Do follow us on our social media platforms at AAU_TV on Twitter, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and at AAU TV Official on Instagram. My name is Aja Omi, and thank you for tuning in.
I'm here with the Association of African Universities Television, AAU TV. I just want to say that without the media, you won't know what's going on in the world. Even with the media, you sometimes don't know what's going on in the world. So you need to tune in to the reliable sources who are really on the front lines, who can give you the information you need and give you facts, not conjecture, give you real news, not fake news. And this is the place to find it, AAU TV.
The voice of higher education in Africa.
Chairman, when this is done, it will eliminate the redundancy and dispensabilities in the educational system at the secondary cycle. This will go a long way to ensure efficiency in making sure that we actually utilize our scarce resources as a nation in attaining higher educational standard.
Regardless of hostel fees, panel, and the accumulated cost of illiteracy, of even semi-illiteracy in this technological age is far greater than the cost that will accrue to parents. In the same vein, panel, Ghanaian parents do not necessarily have to pay, as they asserted in the House, for an additional beneficial year because we have policies like the free SHS.
Stay focused and speak to the facts. Right, that is the issue. So at any point in time, check yourself. You are getting emotional, you are being carried away. Please speak to the facts.
Hello viewers, you're welcome to another exciting edition of the Yaz Intellectuals. And yes, we are grooming great debaters whilst we foster national cohesion through dialogue. The show is proudly brought to you by Yaz and supported by Capital O2 and Access Bank Solo Accounts. I am your host, Nanaba Amwa. We'll go for a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll find out which two halls are combating each other today. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that break. So on today's show, we have two halls coming from the same campus, and they are going to combat each other. We'll see which is the better debater. We have SRC Hall of UCC. And they are coming up against Casey Hayford, also of UCC. I'm sure today's debate is going to be a very intellectually stimulating one. Okay, the debate topic for today is 3 years and 4 years of second cycle education. Which is better? 3 years and 4 years of second cycle education. Which is better? We will have SRC Hall speaking for the motion, whilst Casey Hayford Hall will be speaking against the motion. At this juncture, it's very inevitable for me to introduce our moderators. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Professor Goski Alabi. We also have Mr. Ebenezer Tavia Hansen with us. A note to our debaters for today. The timer will ring his bell once. That means that you have 2 more minutes to finish with your presentation. He will ring it again for the second time. That means that your time for presentation is over. Let us kindly desist from trying to speak more when the second bell goes off.
I believe it's important for us to get the motion right and understand how we're going to go about this particular one, because if we understand rightly, the motion is 3 years and 4 years of second cycle education. Which one is better? And the nature of the motion does not permit that we would have either against or for. So we would like to know which hall is speaking for the 3-year side of the motion and which is speaking for the 4-year side of the motion.
We are speaking for the 3-year side.
SRC Hall UCC is speaking for the 3-year side, and Casely Hayford Hall is speaking for the 4-year side. Thank you very much.
Shall we now have the principal speaker for the motion taking up the podium?
Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, distinguished invited guests, fellow students, colleague debaters, ladies and gentlemen. I am Brako Stephen Asari, otherwise known as Abatei, and the principal speaker for the motion, 3-year second cycle education is better than 4-year second cycle education for SRC Hall, University of Competitive Choice. Mr. Chairman, in our analysis, we are going to debate in 3 main folds. First of all, we are going to explain some key components underlining the topic. And then again, we go ahead to give some record about the historical antecedents as far as our educational landscape is concerned, and then state the reason why we believe that the 3-year second cycle education is far better than the 4-year second cycle education. Zooming straight into defining the components, we are going to define educational reforms, which was defined by Levin and Young in 1999 as programs of educational change that is government directed and initiated based on overly political analysis that is initiated by the government at some point in time when the standards of education is falling. Mr. Chairman, going back to history, dated back as far as 1960, when Ghana gained his political independence, successive governments have demonstrated their recognition of the importance of education to the socio-economic importance of our country, and hence initiated policies in making sure that education is made accessible and relevant to the technological, sociological, and economical development of our nation. Mr. Chairman, we can go as far back as 1961 when Kwame Nkrumah initiated the Accelerated Development Plan, which was meant to expand education to greater people in the country. Also in 1973, there was this infamous Zobo educational reforms, which was to replace the old structure, which was 647, with the 633 educational system. And in 2007, we had our current educational reforms, which brought about this topical debate whether the 3-year or the 4-year educational system should be resorted to. Mr. Chairman, we believe that the policy makers, as at that time, 2008, had it all wrong by implementing the 4-year second cycle education. Mr. Chairman, following the memorandum that was attached to the bill presented to Parliament by Honorable Papa Owusu Ankoma, the Education Minister at then, stated categorically that the 4 years was meant to provide a remedial year and then help these senior high school students to select their elective subjects in the senior high school rather than in the junior high school system. This is where we believe that it was a wrong correlation to cost. It was a wrong means to achieving an aim. We believe that education or knowledge gaining should be based on scaffolding, where knowledge is gained at one point in time, and at another point, knowledge would be built on the knowledge that has been gained. We believe that if our junior high system is structured in a very nice way, there wouldn't be the need for this 4-year system where the senior high school first-year student would have to revise what he learns in the junior high school education. Mr. Chairman, when this is done, it will eliminate the redundancy and dispensabilities in the educational system at the secondary cycle. This will go a long way to ensure efficiency in making sure that we actually utilize our scarce resources as a nation in attaining higher educational standard. Mr. Chairman, we also believe that the 3-year educational system will ensure unflinching government focus on the purpose of education rather than the 4-year educational system. We believe that this will also go in a long way to enhance cost-effective comparatively analyzed. Mr. Chairman, we believe that if it should go to a 4-year educational system, we all know that our system has been structured in a way to suit the 3-year system. Hence, the government would have to come in to provide extra facilities. In the attempt to provide these extra facilities, the government focus of providing quality education will be shifted rather to be providing infrastructure. Now, the books and textbooks that will be needed at the senior high school level to enhance quality education would be missed. Mr. Chairman, we believe that if we resort to the scaffolding where knowledge gain at the junior high school system is well structured, there wouldn't be the need for us to extend this 4 years and for the government to extra spend on the expenditure on our second cycle education. We also believe that it is cost effective in the sense that at some point in time, there are some single parents taking care of 5 or 6 children at the second cycle education. So if the time is extended to 4 years, the parents will have to pass through this economic hardship considering our economic handicapness as a nation. We would have to go through the toil and what have you to cater for their children at the second cycle education, while this can be attained within 3 years with comfort and ease. Mr. Chairman, we go on to also say that the 3-year second cycle education would also ensure that probably there would be the need for us to put in place some rectification measures as proposed or recommended by the 2007 educational reforms that was chaired by Professor Joseph Anamwa in 2007. Mr. Chairman, in that report, although the committee in the first instance recommended for a 4-year second cycle education, but upon further deliberation and consultation, they sought the need that no, because of our infrastructure system and how we lack resources, it would be very inefficient for us to embark on a 4-year educational system. Hence, they rather advised the government to get back to the 3-year system. But because the government wanted to satisfy his campaign promise, he went ahead hastily and then implemented the 4-year educational system. Mr. Chairman, there was this research done by Professor J.S. Jagma, a former chair of WAEC, which came about with the demonstration that during this transitional change from 3 years to 4 years, some well-endowed schools in the country were able to produce students, an average percentage of students qualifying to their tertiary degree, qualifying to the tertiary level. We believe that if these schools have been able to produce same percentage of students to qualify to tertiary level within the 3 years and 4 years educational system, then probably for higher academic performance, it is not for us to extend the years, but rather provide prerequisite logistics that will enhance education at the second cycle education, rather than to go back to extend the 4 years and bring economic hardship to us. Mr. Chairman, Ghana lives in a territorial environment. Ghana lives and then have neighboring countries. We all know that this WAEC that is based to enhance academic performance is written by Nigeria, the Gambia, Sierra Leone, and Ghana. If you take a critical look, Nigeria is on 3-year second cycle education. The Gambia is on 3-year second cycle education. It was recently that the Sierra Leone converted to a 4-year second cycle education. We believe that if Nigeria and neighboring countries are producing higher educational standard with 3-year second cycle education, success is copied. Sociological imagination, sociological perspective, we can copy the success in Nigeria and hence produce a higher standard of education in Ghana. Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, co-debaters, invited guests, I believe that with this proposition and our points well explained and established, with this vivid facts and explanation, you are more than convinced that the 3-year second cycle education is far better than the 4-year second cycle education. Thank you.
Thank you, SRC Hall. Shall we now have the principal speaker from Casely Hayford Hall?
Panel, proposition says because we may not have adequate resources at the moment, and that some people may have some political ulterior motives, and that our neighboring countries have a 3-year educational system, Ghana should copy blindly an educational system devoid or independent of actual considerations of workability within a unique Ghana. So, what do we bring to you in this debate? We believe that what should guide Ghana in making a determination of which of these two educational policies is a better option isn't the length of time, i.e. 3 years versus 4 years to complete SHS, but rather which model is able to achieve the intrinsic purposes and goals of the educational institutions. Right. So, the reason why the length of time isn't an important factor to consider in this debate is that if, for example, take a girl like Akosia, an average student goes to SHS under a 3-year system and isn't able to pass the WASI with flying colors, Akosia will have to write remedial examination over and over and over again and waste even more time than the statutory 1 year that will have been added to the 4-year system. This also negates claims that the 4-year system is more expensive. Panel, the cost of remedial classes, and I have a classic example of one of the remedial schools that charges over 1,800 cedis for a 3-month stay term, regardless of hostel fees. Panel, and the accumulated cost of illiteracy, of even semi illiteracy in this technological age is far greater than the cost that will accrue to parents. In the same vein, panel, Ghanaian parents do not necessarily have to pay, as they asserted in the House, for an additional beneficial year because we have policies like the free SHS. So parents under our model will not be overburdened with financial costs. Right. So, before I zoom into this debate, panel, some clarity. First of all, in this debate, we concede that there are very bad students and there are very good students in our model. But in our particular model, that is on side opposition, we believe the consideration of which model is a better one should be based on the assumption that which model best serves the interests of the average student. This is because most Ghanaian students are average students, given the fact that average itself is a measure of the mean performance of students. Secondly, we feel that using a student's average needs to define the course of the debates takes both models, that is the 3 and the 4 years, at their best, because they have some very poor students that wouldn't be helped under the 3-year model or under the 4-year model or under a 13-year model, right? Also, some very bright students do not even need up to 2 years in order to pass their WASI, i.e., some students register for WASI very early as in Form 1 and they're able to pass their WASI. Therefore, an analysis of very bright and very poor students in this debate will only lead to misleading pragmatics and a very confusing debate. Right. But panel, let's just give them that leeway. And if you are to consider the extreme ends, i.e. very poor students and very bright students, we tell you that on our side, a holistic training of the mind and social capacities of an individual is the prime purpose of education, right? And therefore, a very student may pass WASI in Form 1, but will be lacking in extracurricular activities and social skills that are requisite to be able to successfully integrate into the world that we are. On the other hand, panel, a very poor student may fail WASI after 4 years, but at least under the 4-year model, he acquires the social skills and all those co-curricular activities, the fact that they impact them with certain abilities and certain connections that will help him to at least thrive in the informal sector. That also brings us finally to our model, to why we think 4 years is enough for the holistic capacity building rather than, for example, 6 years or 5 years or 7 years that we have in maybe a model that proposition will try to maliciously try to bring in this house. Now to our main case. Panel, we posit in this debate that the 4-year model of secondary cycle education is able to achieve the prime purpose of education. According to educational objectives elucidated in Bloom's taxonomy, attributed to Benjamin Bloom, who was a world-acclaimed educator in the 1950s, there are 3 purposes of education: to affect the cognitive, to affect the effective and the sensory domains. The cognitive is knowledge-based, i.e. your mind, the ability to recognize, understand, and the ability to learn and adopt facts and concepts. The sensory domain involves emotional-based ability. So basically, social skills, the ability to adopt social skills, receive and respond to emotions, and to learn and to feel those emotions. The afferent domain or the psychomotor domain is usually based on skills regarding the readiness to act, the readiness to adapt and create new physical trends. So basically, things like dancing, using of tools, using your hands, playing football, musical instruments, etc. are improved by a focus on the development of the psychomotor domain. Against this backdrop, panel, you bear with me that educating the Ghanaian student, the average Ghanaian student, is a very complex activity and will require capital resources, i.e. that of infrastructure, cash, teaching and learning materials, and also adequate time, very important in this debate, to effectively achieve the 3 main purposes of education. Panel, we recognize that the basic curriculum, that is the one that affects your brain, of a second cycle education, spans a 3 academic year model. But these curricula usually do not make room for the myriad of co-curricular activities regarding the affectory and the sensory domains, which we also believe are equally important purposes of education. To that extent, we say that the 4-year model helps SHS students to effectively engage in debates, quizzes, join social clubs, develop sporting ability, develop leadership capability, while effectively balancing out their studies. We do not necessarily think that the 3-year model achieves that purpose, because you have to basically rush through your academics and you don't get the holistic training that we need. So basically, panel, I believe that I'm a classic example of that as a member or beneficiary of the 4-year model back in the 2013 SHS year group. I was basically able to engage in things like being a member of the student leadership, president of a social club, a member of the debate society, a member of our quiz group in our school, and basically I believe I was able to balance my education very well, in that I'm standing here before you right now. Again, panel, in our 4-year model, the teacher seeking to teach average students, and I made a case for average students will necessarily have to be given two options. The first of one is either teach them in bits and portions of the cognitive curricula and gamble with them actually reflecting in the WASI because you can't cover all of them in the model, or attempt to handle that bulky model amidst unavoidable social breaks due to co- and extracurricular activities, i.e. sporting, i.e. statutory holidays and term breaks. Obviously, the average student is under huge disadvantage no matter which model that the teacher adopts because there's simply no time, and students in the former model will then pray that they are lucky enough to have a smart teacher who taught them just for WASI, and they don't gain all the benefits that we say are part of our model. This contributes to a general lowering of the quality of education and the production of bookish students who are unable to effectively compete in an increasingly globalized world, the bane of unemployment situation and the economic woes of our country. Integration into higher education and or the corporate world will also be a very important aspect of secondary education as a precursor to tertiary education. The 4-year model achieves this perfectly as it grooms the students with the necessary social skills to build the right networks, to develop the right attitudes towards work, and channel their activities and talents into successful careers and impactful lives. A 3-year model only achieves cognitive development, and even that one, it does so in part and not in full. Panel, for the average Ghanaian student, a 4-year system helps her to achieve cognitive, afferent, and sensory improvement, making them a holistic human being that will contribute to national development. For the Ghanaian parent, it is less expensive and provides the greatest benefits for their wards, and for the government, the training of citizens who improve and develop the nation is enough to override consideration, of course, proudly opposition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So a recap of what debaters have said so far. SRC Hall says that the 3-year second cycle system will ensure that the government provides unflinching focus on improving educational systems by providing prerequisite logistics instead of having to spend more resources on providing more infrastructure for schools, whilst Casey Hereford insists that the 4-year system will effectively engage students to have a well-rounded academic and social skills which will give them an impactful life. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear more from the various halls. Welcome back from that break. The debating topic which lies before the House is 3 years and 4 years of second cycle education, which is better. We've heard from Casey Hayford and we've heard from the SRC Hall, both from UCC. We'll hear from the first supporting speaker from SRC Hall, what they have to say on the 3-year system.
Chair, all protocol observed. My name is Adu Emmanuel, a representative of SRC Hall and the first supporting speaker. The motion before the House is 3 years and 4 years of second cycle education, which is best. Education contributes to improving in our security, health, prosperity, and our ecological equilibrium in the world. It also promotes peace, tolerance, economics, and socio-cultural development, as well as international cooperation. The right of education is one of the fundamental rights of we, the individuals. And our educational system places emphasis that the education should result in the world formation of a well-balanced individual with the requisite knowledge, skills, value, attitudes, and aptitudes to enable the individual become functional and productive citizen. The great Martin Luther King quoted, and I quote, "The function of education is to teach one to think critically and intensively. Intelligence plus character is the goal of true education." The chair, my main speaker, has laid concrete foundation on the reason why the 3 years of second cycle education is best. He made mention of it enhancing great efficiency. It's also eliminating redundancy and also sustaining students' interest. And it's also ensuring unflinching focus on the purpose of education, and also to give to relieve parents and government from economic burden. The leader of the leader of the opposition came about to the question of time. But if that is the cause, or if that is the reason, then why don't we introduce some of the senior high school courses into the junior high school courses, so that by the time the child or the individual gets to the senior high school level, he or she knows what he or she is up to do. Because it seems like most of the things that we did in the junior high school are similar to the things that we do in the primary school. So when you have to introduce some of the SHS curriculum into the junior high school curriculum, before the individual gets there, he or she knows much. And then the leader of the leader of the opposition, or the leader in favor of 4 years of cycle of second education, also made mention about model with respect to performance. I want to also present to him that in the year 2013, during the 3 years and the 4 years badges, we had students who came out with best WASI performance. In the year 2014, we also had people who came out successfully. I want to pose a question across. What was the reason of their performance? What we are trying to say about the 3 years of second cycle education is, let us start introducing new concepts earlier, so that the child will get it and absorb it. Because you can't, we don't move from 2 to 3, but we start from 1 to 2. So we believe that when we introduce new concepts, the individual will be able to get it, so that he or she will build upon it to get to the different level. The leader of opposition also made mention of free SHS. We can't have free SHS when some schools are having teaching periods under trees. We can't have free SHS when some schools still lack financial support. Now, I think one of the problems of implementing the 4-year cycle system is infrastructure challenge and financial challenge, which is related to Parliament's approval. If the free SHS, the budget for the free SHS exceed what we have in the national cafes, it will be very difficult for us to implement the 4 years cycle of education, which is going to slow the learning and teaching processes. The leader of opposition also made mention about understanding facts, knowledge, adopting social life. I also want to make it known to the House that our educational system places emphasis on the technical, agricultural, vocational, and information, communication, and technology education. So as an individual, with this, I would like to propose to the House that...
Kindly bring your session to an end.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shall we have the first supporting speaker from KC Hayford?
Panel, our session is clear. We are supporting the intrinsic purpose of education, the holistic training of the students. And we are going to do anything to make sure that this holistic training is accomplished, because of the implication on the students and the implication on the society in the long run. Panel, our case is simple. What we are going to do is, whether it's cost effective or not, on the cost effective issue, whether it's cost effective or not, we feel that education is very intrinsic and causes a social drive that is important. So whether it will burden the government now or not, we are willing to make that trade-off of money now to achieve the benefits of social change in the future. So we are holding the future at heart, and that is what we are bringing to you in this debate. So to engage some rebuttals from opposition. So government, they come here and tell us that, okay, 3 years, if it's burdensome, let's push some of the courses down to the JHS system. 3 levels of rebuttals. We tell you that in every educational stage, there's a purpose, and pushing courses from SHS to JHS will be a flaw in the educational system. Mind you, panel, we are promoting quality of the educational system. So we feel that this doesn't achieve any model. 2, mental capacity. We are saying that the courses in the GHS system is already tight. Why do you feel that pushing more courses there won't overburden them? So we are saying that in terms of mental capacity, these people are overburdened, and we are not going to push it there, but we are rather going to have a 4-year system that has adequate time to accommodate all the extracurricular activities in this system. Now, panel, an analysis of why we are supposed to make sure adequate time is served in the secondary cycle education. The analysis of integration into higher universities, higher levels of education, that's the tertiary institution, and the integration into society. I tell you that every educational stage has a purpose. The basic education has a formative purpose. The junior high school also has a purpose, and the secondary school also has a purpose. Now, at the secondary school level, these people are taught courses. They are made to choose career paths. That's where this starts. And this career path is such that these people are supposed to be integrated back into higher education standards. So, in their model, they are saying that we should take models, or we should go by a model where these students will pass effectively. And saying that's not what we want to do. We want the educational system flow to be continuous so that these people can be easily integrated into the university. So in a system whereby some courses are not treated properly, what is going to happen in the university? We are saying that chaos is going to happen, and the quality of education is going to decline, and we are not going to accept this. Now, on the issue of following what neighboring countries are doing, I tell you that education, in and of itself, that it has basic purpose. It is socially defined. So a system in Nigeria where they feel that they have basic policies or principles that will be consistent with this educational system, they will follow a certain model. That doesn't mean that Ghana should also follow that educational system, because we also have policies and other implementations or other implications of why we've chosen a particular system. We are saying that we're going to stick to our system because it is adequate enough to achieve the prime purpose of education, the holistic training of this person, to cause a permanent change in the person's life and to affect society at large. Now, on the issues of educational reforms that were brought in by opposition, we tell you that the society changes from time to time. The fact that certain changes happened in the past, that these educational systems were reformed, doesn't mean that at that particular point in time, there was this haphazard structures that existed. But they felt that as society increases, or as society evolves, changing technologies and advancement in technology occurs, then it means that that particular system was adopted at that particular point in time to serve a particular purpose, or to improve the quality of education. So panel, what has been our case? We told you that we want to take the students at the average level, because the various extremes of students cannot apply in this model, in that the brilliant student will pass no matter the number of years given. The bad student might not necessarily have whether we extend the time or not, these students cannot or might not be able to pass. So we want to take them at their best. And we seek to improve quality of education at large. We seek to maintain the intrinsic purpose of education. That is the intrinsic purpose of education, that's to cause a holistic change in the individual's life. So that has been our case, and we will support the 4-year system because quality of education will not decline. Thank you.
Thank you very much. SRC Hall is telling us that they believe that the introduction of some second cycle courses to the junior high level will help beat the issue of length of time as argued by their opponents, whilst Casey Hayford is also telling us in their rebuttal that the educational system must have a quality flow, and that when you push some courses, second cycle courses, to the junior high level, you are going to obstruct the flow of quality education. We'll hear from the second supporting speaker of SRC Hall.
The chair, all protocol observed. My name is Kwabna Yabwa, that's the second supporting speaker for SRC Hall. The chair, Success is copied, and hence, if Nigeria are producing success with less cost, why not copy it? Again, they made mention of education being continuous, and this is where we bring in the principle of the law of scaffolding, where we are saying that knowledge is accumulated or built up from one level to another. We are not saying that the concepts of some of the subjects in the SHS level should be shifted to the junior high level, but what we are saying is that there should be a solid foundation laid so that we wouldn't have to go through the same process again in the first year, which will be unnecessary, and which will be unnecessary for any remedial or selection of the school programs again. The chair, to my point, finally, the 3 years ensures unflinching focus on the purpose of education. And we believe that this was made clear through the principle of the law of dilemma of focus. Attention, we are saying that attention is shifted from providing quality education to building infrastructure. Now, there are a lot of schools under trees, but here's where we stand talking about social skills and a whole lot of stuff. What about those people over there? Are they acquiring any social skill? I don't believe so. They are not acquiring any social skill over there when they are under harsh conditions. The chair, attention should rather be shifted towards providing quality education, and these are some of the principles for providing a suitable environment for education. One is the student characteristics. Second, the teacher characteristics, social, economic, school factors such as school policies, climate, school resources, and institutional process. If all of these are put in place, well put in place, then we are saying it will reduce the cost. It will reduce the cost of having to spend a lot of resources where we can even send these resources to the less endowed schools for them to produce better and quality results like the already well endowed schools. The chair and the house, I believe we have proven to the house beyond all reasonable doubt, and I shall lay some statistic facts over here that in 2009, with 3 years, St. Francis sent about 300 students, and then they had 215 of them passing their exams, which represents 99%. We also have Wesley Girls providing 400 and 388, which represents 98. St. Peter's also sent 300 and 289
Thank you very much, SRC Hall. Let's have the second supporting speaker from KC Hayford.
The chair of the House, basic in this debate is which side shows us that either the 3-year system or the 4-year system achieves the basic tenets of education. From side Castley Hayford Hall, we've proven to you severally that the 4-year educational system achieves the basic tenets of the educational system in Ghana and even in the world. But before I go on to summarize issues brought to you by side Castley Hayford Hall, I'll engage side SRC. Now, the Prime Minister comes here to talk about issues of unflinching government focus, or how the 4-year system will shift government focus from education to something else. We say for shame. See, Ghana borrows to even pay salary, right? So then, what is in borrowing right to fund educational system in Ghana? You're saying that, listen, Ghana spends money on certain things that are comparatively not relevant to education, right? Second level of analysis. We want to talk to you about the fact that, see, education is something that should be a priority to every government, right? So this is something that does not shift the focus from of any government, but we believe that it is a duty for every government to support education and promote education. 2, they talk about cost-effective infrastructure. We believe that these are pragmatics and can be engaged on any day. Now, I will engage infrastructure. We say in principle, so they concede that 4-year system is better, but we don't have infrastructure. From our side as Castley Hayford, we say that we will build infrastructure. These people have 4-year system of education. Now, they make a comparison to neighboring countries and made a classic case of Nigeria. For shame. We say that Nigeria
after taking WASI, right, they take exams like JAMS, right? They take certain successive exams and even university entrance exams. So then it is not WASI that qualifies them to go to the university, but there are other exams that also qualifies them. So then there are more years added to that 3-year stay in the second cycle of education. So on that level, they fall flat. Now, the second speaker, that is advocate, right, came here talking about the issue of introducing new concepts to like JHS system, and we say a very good thank you to that. All right. So then, the moment he made that statement is a concession on the fact that we need an expansion of the tenure of the second cycle education. Because if you're saying that we need to add certain courses to the JHS, it means there's not enough time in the second cycle. I think it's critical hypocrisy, right, for him to have tried to shift it to JHS, but he didn't want to concede that 4-year system is better. We tell you that it is quite hypocritical, and that he actually meant that, okay, because the syllabus is like quite voluminous, then we need to shift certain certain topics or certain subjects or certain courses to the JHS. We believe that this is just a concession of the fact that we need a 4-year system. What have we done to you? Also, what have we brought to you from side Cressy Hayford Hall? We've shown you severally that the 4-year system of education, right, serves the basic tenet of second cycle education or even education in itself. So what did we tell you? We say the education holistically, right, should affect the affective social skills and cognitive parts of every individual. With this, we are
Thank you very much. So the two halls have battled it out on whether the 3 years or the 4 years educational system is the best for the second cycle system. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we would like to hear from our audience what they think about the motion at hand. We are coming to you live from the Lawe Open University College. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that break. So we've had two halls coming from the same university, University of Cape Coast, battling it out on the 2-year, on the second cycle educational system. And we want to hear from our audience what they think about the motion at hand. We'll hear from them.
Education cycle is better than the 4 years, because with the 4 years, at a point, the complacency will set in for the students. They'll feel like, even for the teachers as well, they'll feel like they have more time to prepare for the WASI and everything. And so they will relax until the last minute. The same thing for the 3 years, where they would concentrate much on the studies and trying to produce WASI results. And all the other balance that you were talking about, cognitive and other things.
So I believe the burden of this debate is to identify which of the tenor of education, the second cycle education, seeks to achieve the purpose of education. Now, we believe the purpose of education is to both develop the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotive domain of students. Now, if it happens that the 3 years have proven to achieve this, and the 4 years was proven to achieve this, then it means that probably the burden shouldn't be on the length of time spent in secondary school, but on other factors, like the quality teachers that the schools provide for the students to help teach them adequately for them to get the concepts that are being taught, or better still, infrastructure that are needed to help students get adequate teaching materials and also get enough from the teachers that are given to them to acquire the holistic education that the whole system seeks to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With the motion that we have at hand, the 3 years and the 4 years, which one is better? Some of us will think that because education seeks to achieve or develop on our cognitive skills, the psychomotor development and personal development and the rest, the duration should be extended for teachers to teach us effectively. But we are getting the whole idea very wrong, in the sense that in a situation when we go by the 4-year education system, there is increase in number of students, but the same facilities that we have. So there is pressure on those facilities that we have. Therefore, with this, in a class with a 3-year education system, we have a normal number of students like 30 or 40. But with 4-year education system, due to the large population and the large number of students, we will have about 70 in a class. one teacher, you wouldn't be able to focus on all the teachers. Therefore, the development of the student cognitive skills, psychomotor development, and the rest, how are we going to achieve that? So I think the education system is far better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And those were the views of our studio audience. Our judges are ready with their scores. We'll hear from them.
Once again, congratulations to both sides. You both did a good job and raised a number of critical issues to consider. Before we hear the results of today's debate, let's hear from our colleague panelists.
Yeah, very solid points, well argued. They were cogent and coherent, except to advise that try to avoid attacking each other. Stay focused and speak to the facts. Right, that is the issue. So, at any point in time, check yourself. You are getting emotional. You are being carried away. Please speak to the facts and not attack other debaters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hansen. I think the point has been adequately made. Intellectualism means objectivity. We try as much as possible not to be personal in intellectual discussions or arguments. Intellectual discussions are supposed to be informed by facts. So as much as possible, when you are presenting, we wish to hear more of the facts and the sources of those facts and figures. Again, it's about issues. It's not about personalities. And so, as much as possible, we try not even to mention specific names, except where we are using the names as references or citations. So, we believe that both sides argued very well. However, we didn't have much of facts and figures supporting our arguments. On the side of the 4 years, we didn't capture any reference at all in relation to a specific fact that supports the argument that the 4-year gives better results than the 3 years. On the side of the 3 years, we had some supporting facts that you made. However, those references were not complete. We wish that those references were complete. Again, we noted that you argued very well as well. The judges, in their opinion, had a very difficult time to determine which side is stronger. Judge 1 scored 23 for the 3-year side and scored 18.5 for the 4-year side. Judge 2 scored 18.5 for the 3-year side and 23.0 for the. So we would say that both sides did a great job. We expect to see a stronger and more thought-provoking, intellectual debate than we have seen right now in the next session. And so congratulations to both sides. It's a tie, and the next debate would certainly determine the stronger side of the day. Congratulations once again.
So tie today in the debate. Very thought-provoking debates and issues raised up by both KSD Hayford and SRC Hall, who are both coming from UTC. We are very grateful for having them. We are coming to you from the Lawe Open University College here in Nungwa. I am your host, Nanaba Amwa. Hope to see you same time next week.
Understanding causality. In this session, I'll just maybe give us a summary of what we are expecting to do, to learn at the end of this session, and from there we can take it up. So maybe three few outcomes we're expecting. One is to explain the different notions of causal relationships. We are going to do that. We're also going to learn how to apply causality in our research. And we will also be able to appraise a given causal research so that we'll be able to interrogate a research and see if it is causal, if it is something else. We are going to describe some other things beyond causal research. So, but before I do that, I think we can start from maybe exposing ourselves to what we know and what we do not know. What type of research do we do? Are they really, when we use the word causal research, do you appreciate what I want to say? What do you mean by causal research? Causal research. Do anybody have any idea? Yes, Emmanuel. Yahaya? Dad. Okay.
A research involving connections of variables.
Good. A research involving connection of variables.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's a starting point. Any other suggestion? Yeah. Steven?
Something has to do with empiricism.
Empiricism. Empirical research.
Relationship between two or more variables.
Okay. Observing relationship between two or more variables. Yes. Norma?
And I think in the relationship between the two variables, one is responsible for the other.
A step further. It's just not beyond just looking at variables, but one should be responsible for the other one. Yes, good. Yes.
A research aimed at finding out the effects of a particular problem and the causes of that problem.
Okay. I think we're all there. We're all there. Back to our own experiences. Yes, Daniel, you wanted to say something?
I was going to add that both variables for causal research, they're trying to see if one variable, if the outcome of something is or was as a result of a particular variable.
Brilliant. You are looking at outcome, and they are looking back to be sure of what was responsible for that outcome, and they are looking at causal research. Brilliant. Yes. Example?
For instance, I looked at British foreign policy in Sierra Leone and why the change in government in 1997 saw a change in Britain taking a more proactive. So basically, what caused the Labour government to take a more proactive action in Sierra Leone than the previous Conservative government when the conflict started?
Okay. So from what I'm hearing here, I think I have no job this morning. I have absolutely nothing to do. Because if you know it, and I have been doing it, then what it means that I have nothing to do this morning. But because Pascal had asked me to be here to coordinate this morning session, I have to stay here for the next 1 hour or two. Maybe in process of doing that, may also see more other things and see maybe others who have really done this will share their experiences. And some of us who are not so comfortable with it may begin to think about doing something that they are doing. Or maybe if there's a better way of doing it, we can also learn. I think that's the main reason why I should continue to stay. If not, I will say to have a beautiful day. Okay, that's good.
We're going to learn.
Yes. Okay, so let's discuss together, sharing our experiences on causality. So we are going to look at this from maybe a broader perspective, looking at descriptive studies and looking at causal studies. And maybe from there we can begin to see the possibilities and what we are doing maybe before now and what we needed to do from now. Surely, different type of analysis what will determine the type of analysis you do will be based on if you are focusing on a descriptive study or you are focusing on causal studies. But the challenge we have here, as we're going to maybe observe later from our own experiences, is that sometimes we may be dealing with description and you assume that it's causal. And if you finish doing that, it may become very difficult for policy people to separate what we're doing from causal. And if it's not causal, it may become also difficult for policy interventions. And that's why we should be very clear about description, separating it from causality. So that even the policy actors will appreciate the arena where you're operating from. And they'll be able to base their decision. If it's on description, they should know. Rather than maybe doing a descriptive study and claiming causality. And it may be a little bit problematic. I think I'm happy with where we are starting. At least most of us understand what we mean by causality and description. However, can I also go back a bit with us in terms of our experiences? What type of studies do we do? We have agreed that you do causal. Some people have mentioned causal. But do you do descriptive studies at all? Can we share experience and tell us maybe the type of studies you did that to classify as descriptive? Can you get one input? Historical? Then when you say historical, what do you mean?
Narrating a story of a community group.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are describing.
If I decide to tell my own story of my own village or my family from the ancestral to date, it's just describing what occurred.
Okay. All right.
Relating it with anything.
Okay.
Process tracing. Basically tracing a particular process.
Maybe another ground rule didn't include is that people should raise their voices. Because if you are talking to yourself, you're also breaking the mutual respect rules. So please, when you are talking, please raise your voice a bit so that others will also appreciate what you are.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you could also refer to descriptive studies as process tracing, for example, where you trace, wherein you're simply describing a particular process. Say you want to basically just describe the policy process in Kenya or Nigeria, you're simply describing, simply describing without looking at some of sort of the critical elements, and how connected those ones are. You're just simply describing that this is the way policy is made in Nigeria from A to Z.
Okay. So in addition, I would like also, brilliant, in doing that, maybe giving you one example, if you can use your previous studies on what you did exactly, and so that I will appreciate it maybe more. Not theoretical this time. Yeah. Yes.
In my field, I think we use a descriptive institutional approach where you describe the operation and the processes that formal institutional and informal institutional politics, how they take place. For example, when I did my PhD, I used this approach to describe the roles and functions of state legislatures. What are the functions? What ought to be their functions, and I went to observe to see whether what we have in reality is what we are thinking of.
Okay.
So that's what.
Okay, that's brilliant, and I think it has its own merit because what you feel may not be what is on ground. So you need really to validate some of it you are thinking. Yeah, Norma, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say that sometimes you can also do studies on prevalence of a particular issue.
Yeah.
For instance, I did the prevalence of selfie taking among adolescents in Nigeria.
The description, yes. You just want to know the prevalence and maybe the patterns, who is doing it more. Is it among the young or the old, among men or women? And when we are dealing with that, we are dealing with description. Am I right? It has its own merits too. Lynn, have you done any study before?
I haven't done any before, but maybe I can quote some anthropological studies, like some of the work of Margaret Lee, what people descriptive, trying to find the culture of people in Samoa. That would be descriptive.
So yes,
descriptive, in the sense that questionnaire is used to collect data from the respondent, and the analysis of the data is described as a descriptive statistic.
Okay. I think we can come back to that because we are going to deal with, we have a method, more or less something of methods here. When we talk about mixed methods. So we may be dealing with that more. Maybe you can use questionnaire to collect both qualitative, or you can do description with the data you collected through questionnaire. It can also be causal. It depends on the analysis, the level of analysis you are doing, and you focus on the study. But I agree with you. You can collect data through questionnaire and end up with description. It's possible. So, but we're going to do that. Yes. Evelyn?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I should actually put it right there. I'm more from a business-oriented perspective. So it is actually my first time to interact with the more typical social research. But then going back to descriptive, normally it's more when you want to talk about or interrogate further a phenomenological issue. Just purely what pertains on that phenomenon. End of story. We're not looking in terms of how does it actually affect the society. I just want to know what is the character of Evelyn. So what I deal with is to describe Evelyn's character and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't go beyond asking how does Evelyn's character actually influence Lynn or this. That is our understanding from my business perspective.
I think your understanding from business perspective should be our understanding of what it is. I think all disciplines are the same. When they are dealing with description, it should be description, whether from business or from sociological, anthropological, whatever. I think it's the same thing. So now the question is, under what circumstances should we undertake either descriptive or causal studies? Although our focus this morning is on causality, but we should also acknowledge that description is important in certain types of research. But we don't do description for description's sake. And we don't also engage in causal studies because we just want to establish causality. There must be something on ground before you do that. And what circumstances? I can open up discussion on that so that we don't need... There are two main conditions for thinking of either doing description or going causal. And from the business perspective, if you want to describe a phenomenon, you may be, to understand what a phenomenon is, you may be dealing with description only. But if you want to make a step to see how this particular variable translates to changing the other variable, then you are already moving on the realm of causality. But these things are not just from nowhere. What should guide us should be the theory environment or the data environment. And when I talk about theory environment, I don't want us to go back to our basic thinking in our graduate school, theoretical framework, theories of this. I should just use the word, the basic explanations of a particular phenomenon. If it is well established in terms of theory, then you may begin to think of certain type of studies. Also, if data environment means what is known about empirical studies, evidence, that are there. If it's very rich that you have overwhelming empirical evidence, there's type of study you should be targeting. So we can do maybe a typology of it and see the type of things we should be doing. When Evelyn was talking about describing a phenomenon, when you have very poor theory environment, and the data environment is also very poor. What do? You may just be developing descriptions. Nothing is known about a phenomenon. What do? You have to first of all tell us what it is. You cannot begin to say that this is related to this or this causes this if you do not even know anything about a particular phenomenon. So you may start off with description. And some of us in anthropological studies, that's what they usually do. A society is not much is known about a society. An anthropologist will go in there. There's no theory explaining any behavior. They don't even know what they're doing. In short, I can start from psychological perspective, where I'm a psychologist by training. I'm a business psychologist anyway. So, if for example you want to look at maybe intelligence, and nobody has known anything about intelligence, you can't say that people who are intelligent are going to be more productive workers because we don't even know what intelligence is. Am I right? So the first starting point is to describe intelligence, to understand what constitutes intelligence. When you say an intelligent person, what is it? Then you can begin to describe some dimensions, some components of intelligence. You can tease out certain things. And you can say, because of this, if you are doing this, if you are doing this, if you have this, you are an intelligent person. Once you have known that, then other scientists can move on from there to say, since this is intelligence, those who are intelligent, they can now begin to make some proposals. And what do? They can begin to maybe test hypotheses. However, there's a situation where maybe the theory environment is rich a bit, but not much is known about that particular phenomenon in a particular setting. You can do description in another context. And that's where I will bring a lot of caution. And that's actually what we do here in this part of the world. Most scholars here will tell you that because of nothing has been known about particular certain things, they are doing a study of that in social environment. It's always difficult to explain that to scientists. Because that thing that is happening in that particular environment is not so peculiar to warrant scientific inquiry. I'll give you an example. I'm the current editor of our journal in Nigeria. And the first set of, when I became the editor, the first set of manuscript that came was saying they were studying some maybe motivational issues among workers. And they said they are studying it in Ibadan area. And the last studies were in Lagos. They have been done in Lagos, they have been done in the southeast, but no study has been done in Ibadan axis. So for him, he can begin a description of a phenomenon in Ibadan. And I was wondering, what is so peculiar about Ibadan? And they're talking about commercial banks. And maybe half of the people in Ibadan were posted from Lagos. Or they moved from the southeast or from Abuja. And he's now trying to describe a phenomenon and tell us that it's so marvelous and what scientific inquiries. What I just did was just to put a question mark. Please start a new story. This story cannot fly. And also, sometimes we may also feel that something was done in Europe, done in US, maybe done in South Africa and North Africa, East Africa, but has not done in Western Africa. And we say we'll start a new study. For a typical, and you are going to send these papers for editors, and unfortunately, about 99% of top line editors in the world are Euro-Americans. It's unfortunate. But that's also what is the reality on ground. 99% of top editors in the world are from this part of the world. And you are writing something and telling them you are dealing with South Africa, you are describing a phenomenon in Africa, but it has been described and well established in East Africa. And you assume that a white man will understand. They will not. For him or her, every black man, irrespective of where you are coming from, are from one family and one country. So they see Africa as a country. Are you aware of that? So once you move out of Africa and are discussing with a typical European, and he sees you a black man, he sees a Kenyan, he say, he's from your place. He say, no, he's not from, he's from Kenya. Yes. Do you know him before now? For him, who will eat from the same pot, who really.
But even we Africans, we can also be guilty of that.
Of course.
For instance, I could recall we were going through Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta.
Yeah.
And then somebody just blurted, oh, West Africa, you West Africans, all here.
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, is it West Africa country?
Yeah, you.
I was asking.
Yes, I'm sure that's a challenge. Yes. I think you can appreciate it. So you are telling a white man that you have done something in West Africa, and it has been done in East Africa and Southern Africa and wherever. And it's, for him or her, we are the same. And our culture are the same. And that's what you are saying, that is peculiar here is not peculiar for him. Whatever is happening in Nigeria should be the same thing happening in Kenya, should be the same thing for him, even in South Africa, even in North Africa, for goodness sake. For him, even in Egypt, Algeria, we are more or less related more to those within Spain, wherever in Europe. They may have even more, their culture may be nearer than what you see from here. But for them, Africa is one country. So what it means, I'm saying, yes, you can describe something in another context, but we should do that with caution. Should do that with caution, because you really need to prove that they are different, and you should establish these differences. Some of us who also get rejection from who write, because once you send papers, you must get rejection. The more you send, the more you get. The highest level of number of rejection I got was when I was in my Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship between 2017 and 2018. It seems that every week I will get a rejection. Every week. For obvious reasons, I was submitting more papers because I was doing nothing but writing. So, and most of the papers I had even before I went to Europe, I started writing them and cleaning them up. So I was getting more rejections. And at a point, I was feeling that the gods of my whatever, the sins of my forefathers have followed me from Nigeria to Europe. But what happened? Within around 2018 to 19, I published about 20 of them. So you knew what it is, and the best journals on earth. So we started cleaning them up, they come there. But the major criticism we usually have is that you want to say that something is happening even in Africa, because theories are well established. And once I have a theory explaining something, human beings are the same. For you to say that this theory does not apply to Africa, it's very difficult to prove, especially in business world. Why should a businessman who can motivate, there's well-developed theories of motivation, well-developed theories of support system in the organization, why do we feel that it works in US, it worked in Europe, it worked in Asia, why shouldn't it work here? Do you understand? Okay, please, Michael.
This is actually a very important issue, because this was the subject of a panel that I participated in just recently in June in Montreal.
Yeah.
The International Public Policy Association conference. And the issue was about the applicability of Western-inspired theoretical traditions in public policy.
Yeah.
And the panel was to interrogate whether, in fact, those theories, how applicable are those theories?
Yeah.
Because there has been what I would refer to as some sort of subaltern reaction to this so-called Western concepts that some theories, some African scholars will find problematic when taken to Africa. So what I did was to look at a particular practice, which is evidence-based policy making, and to see which is, this one is actually based on Laswell stages approach to the policy process.
Yeah.
And the idea was, how applicable was this? And the panel was actually, we all were meant to challenge. And so, yes, there are theories that you can say they're applicable, but are they powerful enough to explain what's happening in the African context?
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
So yes, you might say the stages approach. What I found in the case of Sierra Leone was that there's no way the way policy as conceived by Laswell is applicable to a particular area of policy making, which was the free healthcare policy.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find any evidence that actually it went through the sort of stages that have been proposed.
Yeah.
Rather, what I found was that the president made a proclamation, and then people have to walk backwards.
Yeah.
And in the case of the UK, no. There have been a sort of agenda setting, and then went all the sort of process. But in Africa, it's not as neatly applicable as we would have it on paper.
Then what it means is that you have a case. And so what we want to establish is that once you have that, you have a case to describe in another context. It's okay, we're not saying it's absolute, but we have to be careful with that. It's not just when a scholar just starts and says, yes, it has been done here, but nothing is done here. So we need to know. That you are knowing, is it adding any value? It may also be reproducing, reinventing the word. You're also producing the knowledge you know about the phenomenon. So you are not doing anything. That's just the issue. It's not every theory that fits everywhere. And so there's no theory of everything. So that's it. Okay. So, but for example, assuming that that environment is also rich, but whatever, theory is poor. What are you going to do? You are going to explore causality. You have data, but nothing is known so much that is causing certain things. What we'll be doing is to explore causality. Because we don't know the reason why these things are happening. What are you trying to do? You will be exploring causality. And that's actually why policy is important. That's why policymakers should be interested in your work. Yes, I have evidence to prove that this is this, but there's nothing explaining it. What are you trying to do? We are going to explore the causes, why these things are happening the way they're happening. And what it means is that we'll begin to produce evidence that will help us to introduce interventions. Am I right?
You're right. Yeah.
That's actually what should be the guiding principle. Why should policymakers? I was discussing in a one-day program. I was invited by the Nigeria Political Science Association in their last conference in Calabar. That was sometime a month plus. Yes, I was in that conference, and I did about 2-3 hours presentation on why they should be emphasizing producing evidence for Nigeria political science. Yeah. For obvious reasons. Why should? Because all governors, President of the Federal Republic for the past 20 years have been appointing anybody, bricklayers, whoever they want, as chief political, whatever. What do they call them? Special advisor, political, or whatever. I say, why are they not appointing political scientists? The simple reason is that they are not producing enough evidence to convince the politicians. Because if you are producing evidence that's overwhelming, it's most likely they know, and you are the only person producing it. So that's actually the challenge. Because if you don't have any reason why things are leading to this, why should a governor employ you as a political whatever? And they know they pay you a lot of money. So, but once you begin to explore causality and seeing why things are happening the way they're happening, it's most likely that people will listen to you more. And that's our major reason for focusing here on causality rather than description. But we're not saying I can't describe. However, most of the studies we do here is on this quadrant, testing hypothesis. I'm coming back. I will quickly come back. Do you want to?
No, I was just going to ask you as an editor for a journal. You see a paper, how much of description in this particular paper is acceptable? And how much of actually looking at the analysis in which you try and establish some causality or you test a particular hypothesis?
I know that all editors, all writers, you look for many things. If the purpose of the study is descriptive, what you need to do is for the person to produce evidence, convincing reason why the person should be doing description. But if it is on causality, what do we do? You need to also look at the methods the person has employed, whatever, to produce whatever he's claiming. That's actually why we're interested in the methodology, not actually the outcome. We want to see, did you follow the rigors required to produce the evidence you are claiming? We're going to, as we discuss this, we begin to appreciate that most of the things we are doing, most of us have doctorate, but if you look back at that doctorate, you rather ask them to start afresh, because we have produced evidence that are nothing, that is not convincing to ourselves, but you have awarded a doctorate. And we are not going to say that you should return it to us. You should have it, but you should move a step to start producing something that is better. That's actually the story. The story is that every editor, it depends on level of journal, every editor, every whatever, policymakers are looking for overwhelming evidence. If you are doing description, do it well. If you are doing whatever causal studies, do it very well, so that we'll be able to understand. But in this part of the world, we're not doing anything well at all. And that's why we don't also have top journals here. You can count the number of journals publishing good papers in the whole of Africa. In short, in my area, we have maybe 1 or 2 that are publishing very top papers. In my area, it's only maybe South African Journal of Industrial Psychology and South African Journal of Psychology. Okay, Journal of Psychology in Africa. About 2, 3, 4 journals in my area in Africa publishing real good papers. Others are just maybe association journals trying to be responsible to the society. People want to get promoted. Sometimes people even flow their own journals and publish for their friends. So, but those are the fraud in Africa. So we have to live with it. If we continue to think, but if we really want to do what we are doing here, then we begin to see that there is a need to start taking ourselves serious. Because if we don't take ourselves serious as academics, it's not likely that the policy makers and the world will take us serious. If we don't produce something that is good, yeah. And that's why I normally encourage my colleagues who talk about impact factor or whatever, you need to publish in impact factor journal. I say we should go beyond that. It's not just about publishing in good journal, but also producing evidence that is good enough for yourself and for the society. And once you start in that step, the world is your, sky is your limit. There's nothing you cannot do. Publishing is no more an issue. Personally, for me, I don't think about publication anymore. What I try to do is to look at quality of what I'm producing. It's no more about number. I don't need numbers. But even if I need number, every year I should be able to produce what is enough to promote a profession. A typical in normal journals. So what is it? So what it means is to go deeper, to start looking at the ones that will change myself, change my community, and change the world. And that means a lot of rigor, developing more skills. And that's one step we're taking here. And I'm sure by the end of 10 days, we'll be able to pick some skills that will push us to increase what we have and do even more. Even if not for us, also for our students. Yes. So that's it. So the last one is testing hypothesis, most of the things we do. The theories are established. We have data here and there, but we want to test a particular knowledge. Maybe how the data behave. Maybe in this, can this lead to this? Although this is working, are they related to this? What are you doing? We are just testing hypotheses. Because that's actually what we do in most graduate schools, and that's what is expected. Because if you start from the unknown, you may not finish the doctorate. It's always difficult. In short, most supervisors will ask you to tell us, to do a concept note. And when they didn't see enough literature on that area, they assume that you may not be able to complete it because it's time-bound. It's time-bound. So we needed to be swimming around theories and literature so that we'll be able to test a particular knowledge. Maybe push the knowledge a little bit, add to what we know. So we are just testing hypotheses. But you cannot test hypotheses if there's no theories. Am I right? It's not likely that you test hypotheses. You can answer questions, you can raise research questions, you can explore. But if you don't have theories, you must have a base before you hypothesize. Am I right? So that's why almost all the papers in graduate school are testing hypotheses, especially those in quantitative science. But those in maybe qualitative can do a whole lot of description. If they see what is going on and they feel it's not well known, they can go deep to do some descriptions. Yeah. Prof,
how
yes.
do you go about building theories? Because one of what these people have identified as shortcomings of African scholars is the ability for us to build theories and not simply be relying on Western inspired. Yeah. So how do we go about building theories?
Okay. I think I can throw it back to the class because this is a social science discussion, more or less. How do you build theories? But I would rather say that before we discuss, building theory is difficult. Yeah. It will require a lot of knowledge. And also, it's also a difficult place to prosper for various reasons. For example, in my area and business, we have only one major journal publishing theoretical paper, Academy of Management Review. And that's where every person in the best of the world, in Harvard, Yale, Stanford, best universities in the world are struggling within that space. And they publish about 10, 12 papers in one volume. So all the professors are in the whole world, all scholars in the whole world are struggling in that small space to publish theoretical paper that make impact. But what happens in Africa is that people claim they're building theories. They build weak theories, no ideas. They just wake up one morning and say theory of this. And they publish it in one small journal they floated. It doesn't go anywhere. Before you do that, you need to also be in the space where we're discussing theories and see how the existing theory, why we are challenging these theories in a very systematic manner. And that's what it is. But even in building theories, you also need evidence. You need to develop some understanding. You need maybe in a different context so that we'll be able to build theories. We are going to mention that when we deal with research questions. There's different ways of doing that. But building theory is important, but it's not something you wake up one morning to think maybe from whatever, from your kitchen and wake up in the morning and say, yes, I built a theory of this. Everybody start applying it. It doesn't work that way. Yes, Evelyn, please.
Thank you so much. My thinking was one, I'm looking at the diversity that we have, even within this one. times I feel we're moving so much ahead.
Yeah.
And humbly, I'm just looking at we are the introduction bit of it.
Yeah.
So when do I go descriptive? When do I come to casual?
Yeah.
Once maybe we're through with all of us coming to the same understanding, then when we now start looking at the issues of exploring casuality among others, then we can all go into the deeper aspect of bits of that.
Good.
That is just kind of my humble request.
Okay, that's good.
Keep on saying me to go so much ahead advance.
Yeah.
Then some of us are still behind here.
I appreciate
Some of us come from qualitative perspective.
Yeah.
So we're talking about hypotheses and I've not even
Understand what it
yeah,
is.
quantitative is. I'm left out from the discussion. That is my humble submission.
Brilliant. I think we should accept that. Okay. All right.
As a follow-up to her question, I wanted to understand, or I thought I have understood that this part of the quadrant is, so the left side is descriptive study. So I do descriptive study when I need to develop description and then description in different contexts. I wanted to confirm whether testing hypothesis will be classified as a causal study, or is it just the exploring causality that is causal study?
Okay, that's good. I think you are right. This is really what we're dealing with. Causality. Exploring causality is here.
The testing hypothesis, will it be descriptive study again?
No. It may not fall into descriptive, it may not fall into causal, but you are doing something. The phenomenon is well described, is known, you have data there, but there's something we want to test. You know, what do we mean by hypothesis? Maybe by tomorrow, that's what we'll be dealing with. When we talk about hypothesis, it's just a statement that this should be related to this. And you go to the field to generate data again, a new set of data. Though there's existing knowledge about it, you generate a new set of data to test if those things are true or not. You say yes or no, and you go home and relax. But it speaks to the research community. If this is true, then what do we do? Then that's why you begin some recommendations. If this is true, then we'll do this and do this and do this. But that's your major focus is not to explore if this causes this. However, because research is more broader, I don't want us to go so fast. It's broader than that. Even in testing hypothesis, we may make can make meaning out of it that may speak to causality. You understand? You may make some meaning out of it that speaks to causality. But your major way of tracing and establishing solid causality will not be testing hypothesis. You understand? Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, follow up on what you just said. The possibility of combining description and causality, tracing causality in one study. A situation where you try to describe the phenomenon and you want to find out how that phenomenon influences another. Is there any possibility?
Brilliant. This introduction